Welcome to PRAJNA SPARKS, a podcast where we listen to a Dharma talk, contemplate with our minds and in our hearts, and engage in guided meditation. Every episode of PRAJNA SPARKS takes hours to plan, record, and edit. We ask that, if you haven't already, you give us some time today to like, subscribe, share, and review our podcast. Alongside your own practice, this is the best possible offering as it helps the Dharma reach new listeners.
View has a very important place in Buddha's teachings. It is the first of the limbs of the Eightfold Path that the Buddha Shakyamuni lays out in his first public discourse. Right view is the beginning of the path of practice that leads to liberation from samsara and the full capacity of mind. That is buddhahood. View is also one of a three-part way of understanding how that path of practice plays out in our lives. That three-part methodology looks at view, meditation, and conduct. View, meditation, and conduct is a very common way in Tibetan Buddhist philosophy and practice to understand the full scale of the path, the ways things fit together, and how the path actually evolves, develops, how different elements of our practice intertwine and reinforce one another. This bird's eye view of path is so important because it's very easy to get lost. It's very easy for all of us as beginners to lose track of what we're doing and why, and how this perhaps seemingly entirely worldly, secular thing that doesn't appear to have anything to do with the Buddha Dharma would fit into a path of spiritual practice laid out in various different ways by the Buddha Shakyamuni millennia ago. We'll be looking at view, meditation, and conduct in the next few episodes, and today we'll begin with view. View relates to that element of mind that is exactly what that word says, how we see things, our perspective. Of course, Buddhist philosophy may get very particular about such things as the view of what is called apparent reality and what is called genuine reality. But in general, view has that same sense as we use in everyday conversational English: a viewpoint, a point of view, a worldview, a perspective. The Tibetan word dawa literally means to see, and we say that all the time. Oh, I see. I understand. Functionally, view is absolutely essential. I'd love to share with you a quote from Jungen Kuntrul Lodrutai. One who meditates without view is like a blind person wandering the plains. No way to know whether their path is true. Merely holding a view without meditating is like a miser straitjacketed by their stinginess, unable to savor fruition, either themselves or to share with others. The intertwining of view and meditation, this is the sacred way. It's very hard to know where we're going if we don't see where our feet are, where they are headed, what are the options, and so forth. It's hard to understand what happens in our life if we don't have a frame of reference that makes sense of a seemingly impossible to understand world. Many people think that anyone who has a, quote, religious view is wrong, and only a scientific or materialistic or atheistic or whatever preferred term is the correct one. That, too, is a view. It's a worldview, a perspective on life and others. does that actually help you navigate life? From the perspective of the Buddha's teachings, view is about what are the ways that I can know the world, life, samsara, and my place in it, such that I can live it in alignment with my deepest, highest aspirations for myself. Simply put, you, me, all humans, all beings, anything with mind, has a very simple, deep, and high aspiration to be genuinely happy and to be free of suffering. The simplest description of the Buddha's teachings is a set of understanding and implementations that allows us to meet these high, deep aims for ourselves in their fullest, most perfect, most immediate ways. You could think of view as a philosophy, a set of belief systems that helps us to navigate life. And if we look at it from a Buddhist perspective, it's specifically a set of belief systems that helps us to understand the samsaric condition of humans and all beings. In other words, what is the architecture of samsara, the scaffolding that yields an experience of reality that misperceives that reality even as we engage it. Buddhist view helps us to find purchase, a place to get a hold on the life that we encounter and the true nature of that life, its contents, the inhabitants we meet, the experiences we have, just as they are. Those two things, apparent and genuine reality, encompass everything. There is nothing outside the scope of the intertwined, radically interconnected spheres of apparent and genuine reality. What are those things? Apparent reality is what we call life or the world. The things that appear, that we experience, and seem to be just the way we see them. And yet, their true nature is different. Buddhist view helps us by giving us a framework that we can apply to our experiences so that we can move through samsara in a way that aligns with those deep, high aspirations, leaving behind what leads to suffering and continually taking up what leads to genuine happiness. Now, to begin with, when I say suffering and happiness, I'm not just saying something that feels good or something that feels bad. I'm saying the experience of happiness that is completely untainted by even the hint of suffering interrupting it or anything putting a stop to it. When I say suffering, I mean not only unpleasant experiences, but even happiness that is interrupted, intermittent, or serial in nature, that doesn't continue without fail, because that is our true nature. Simply put, happiness is embodying, experiencing, and being able to share the true nature of our mind, the Buddha nature. How can anything less than embodying and experiencing our true nature be happiness in this sense? The Buddha's teachings on view help us to make sense of the world while we are still operating under the misperception that is the defining characteristic of samsara and the many issues and problems and difficulties that causes. If samsara is misperception, how do we find our way out? We can use an example from the natural world, a whirlpool in the ocean. If you get caught in a whirlpool, it's very difficult to make your way out. You can't do it by strength. You can't do it by reasoning. You do it by something a little bit counterintuitive. If you try to move with it, it sucks you in. If you try to move against it, it tires you out. But if you move on a tangent or diagonal to its force, we are able to find freedom. Similarly, it is very difficult to find a way out of samsara using the tools of samsara. Misperception comes in so many guises, so many flavors, so many colors, and they're all enchanting. We can be a little bit starry-eyed when it comes to samsara, so we get caught up. It sucks us in, or it tires us out. The teachings of the Buddha on view provide that diagonal, that supra-dimensional space that lets us both navigate samsara in a way that has immediate impact, that does give us more pleasant experiences and fewer unpleasant ones, and ways to handle both, at the same time that it leads us onward to transcending good and bad, positive and negative, up and down, etc. The space of genuine reality, free of all these fabrications. Well, that's all very nice, but what exactly does all of that mean? It simply means understanding the right view of apparent reality, the right view of genuine reality. And here, right does not mean the Buddha says that it's right if anybody else says that it's wrong. Right simply means straight, righting from a mistaken space, specifically with respect to freedom from samsara and attainment of the full and complete power, love, and wisdom of mind's true nature, Buddhahood. This is what is called right in Buddhist view. If it leads onward to liberation and Buddhahood, it is right in the sense that it shows a path that is true, like an arrow is true when it flies from its bow with unerring ease and grace, like a wheel is true when it rotates without any deviation on its center, and so forth. The right view of apparent reality, what is that? Going back to that question, how can I be happy without suffering? Not just how can I have good experiences more than I have bad ones. No, you're selling yourself short. Your nature is to be unerringly happy without the slightest possibility of that ever stopping. How do you do that? The teachings on the right view in the context of apparent reality are very extensive, but you can't say that they come down to where are the causes of suffering and happiness. How does happiness come about? How does suffering come about? And what can I do to align with ways of being that make it more likely for me to experience happy feelings, happy events, happy experiences more than suffering ones? That's the provisional or temporary approach, the view with respect to apparent reality. Even as I work towards transcending good and bad, positive and negative, samsara and nirvana. Another way of describing this view is a view of karmic cause and effect. The experiences we have are the results of seeds deposited in our mind stream, not only by our previous acts in this life, but going past the beginning of this life. The Buddha's view includes an endless stream of lives before this one, and potentially a continuation of that endless stream going forward if we do nothing to stop it. In all those lives, beings who shared this mind stream, which we can think of as me, have engaged in various actions. Those actions have had a natural consequence, a valence to them, and a seed is deposited that is in alignment with that. Just like you never plant apple seeds and get lemon trees, you never plant harmful actions and get happy results. What makes things harmful or happy, positive or negative? Is it because the Buddha says so? No. It's simply what the results feel like. If it feels good, the cause must also have been good, positive, pleasant, and vice versa. This seems very simplistic at first, but it is incredibly vast, incredibly detailed, incredibly intricate. This view of apparent reality really helps us in so many ways. It helps us to gain confidence in how to behave in the world. Our world is so complex. It's hard to know what's the right thing and not the right thing to do. When we look to the teachings on karmic cause and effect, we have a roadmap, a sense of how we behave that aligns with our true nature. For example, there are the 10 virtues: respecting life, respecting the intimacy of sexuality, respecting others' property, speaking with honesty, meaning, and purpose, and with kindness, appropriate to the circumstances, the wish to unite people, and finally, engaging in a mindset that is joyful for all the goodness others have, views others with benevolence, and holds the view that is right with respect to apparent reality. These simple guidelines are very familiar. They are found in every world spiritual tradition, and they are found in secular humanism. Why is that? Because they're natural. They are true. They are right. They also are a lot more intricate than a simple list will allow. When we start exploring these ways of being, we find how interactive they are, how subtle they are, and it brings us to great depth of understanding. It moves us to want to put into practice the view that we encounter in life and to behave in ways that aligns with that view. This putting into practice is meditation. This behaving in ways that align with the view is conduct. View, meditation, and conduct encompass all of our spiritual practice. The view that animates, drives, and motivates our conduct, our actions, is instilled, cultivated, and deepened through meditation that leads to embodiment through conduct. As we continue, we'll examine meditation and conduct. For now, I'll leave you with this wonderful contemplation from Lama Zopa, reflections we can bring into our life to really get a better sense of what exactly we mean by life. These 4 contemplations that turn the mind to Dharma are themselves a wonderful expression of right view as set forth in the Tibetan Buddhist lineages.
The 4 contemplations which turn the mind to Dharma, or another way to say that, the 4 contemplations which turn the mind to reality, are an experiential guide for cultivating in ourselves a view which will serve us well. They're a way for helping to refine our beliefs, our motivations, so that they more closely match with both the way things are and that which is skillful. They help us refine our view to one that's conducive to well-being both for ourselves and others, and in both the short term and the long term. These 4 contemplations, as laid out in the Kagyu lineage of Tibetan Buddhism, are first contemplating the priceless opportunity of this life, particularly having met with genuine teachings and having the motivation ourselves to find what is meaningful. The second contemplation is the contemplation on our death, the fact that we will inevitably die, and what that means for the things that we put our energy towards in this life. The third contemplation has to do with karmic cause and effect, recognizing, as we see in the material world, our experiences of happiness and suffering arise from causes and conditions. They are not random. And finally, the fourth contemplation is the contemplation on the defects of samsara, the disadvantages of confused ways of perceiving, being, living that keep us wrapped up, chasing after things that are never going to fulfill our utmost aim. For now, it's enough just to know and to have explored our own belief in where happiness and suffering come from. This is Zopa and Yeshe for PRAJNA Sparks. Be sure to join us every month on the new moon for fresh episodes. Stay tuned now for a guided meditation. Shivnee is our Tibetan singing bowl artist. Thanks for the generosity of giving us some time out of your day to like, subscribe, share, and review PRAJNA Sparks. It really does help us to spread the gift of Dharma to new listeners. If you have any questions, contact us via email, Instagram, or Facebook. Check the episode notes for those links and for more resources on today's topic. Visit us on the web at prajnafire.com or follow us on Instagram and Facebook at PRAJNA Sparks. Thank you for listening. May all beings benefit. Hello, friends, and welcome to today's meditation on view. Before we get into the meditative analysis, let's begin as we usually do with a period of first taking our seat, coming into the present moment, fine-tuning our awareness, and then letting it settle through tranquility meditation, such that we refine one-pointed focus and attention, which will allow us to delve deeper as we go into the meditative inquiry. Pay attention now to your physical posture, to being embodied, present, here and now, allowing whatever thoughts, feelings, emotions, sensations that might be present or calling for your attention to just be there, recognizing and acknowledging them without getting pulled into their narrative or storyline, neither adopting nor rejecting, just allowing yourself to come into the present moment, to feel this energy and embodiment being here and now. From this point, we will do a couple of minutes of shamatha, or tranquility meditation, where the focus is cultivating one-pointed awareness, attention on the focal object of the meditation. The focal object can be our breath, an imagined sphere of bright light in the center of our heart, or in the point between our eyebrows, or any other meditative focal object. Choose just one and settle with it now for a couple minutes, using the meditation object as an anchor to recognize when we get distracted and bringing our awareness back to rest just lightly on the meditation object. Please practice like this for a couple minutes. In this calm, alert state of mind, let us now turn towards the meditative inquiry. I'm going to seed a couple of questions and give you time to sit with them, to dig into them, maintaining one-pointed focus or attention that we've cultivated in tranquility meditation and applying it to the meditative inquiry. So we're not getting pulled off or distracted by proliferating thoughts or distractions, but we are allowing ourselves to investigate and dig deeply into these questions and our own beliefs about them. To start with, ask yourself, what do I believe about suffering and happiness? What do I believe about suffering and happiness? Allow yourself to explore this question. There's no right or wrong answer. Just look in this moment into your belief. Where do I believe suffering comes from? Where do I believe suffering comes from? this happiness that I yearn for, which I keep trying to arrange, plan, line up in my life through all sorts of different means and methods, is it possible? Is this happiness that I yearn for possible? Is a feeling of happiness enough? Will that satisfy me? Is some outer circumstance going to be able to provide it for me? Is some outer circumstance going to be able to provide the happiness that I yearn for me in the lasting manner that I ache for? Spend a few moments just analyzing all the ways that we personally seek, line up, try to get to the happiness that we are chasing, and investigate with clear-sightedness if any of these strategies and outer circumstances are going to be able to provide it. Can I see how these beliefs drive me? How they're a constant underlying motivating force for me throughout my day as I try to achieve lasting happiness, lasting meaning. How do I think I am going to achieve happiness? this investigation into where we think happiness comes from in a very experiential, visceral way, digging into those underlying beliefs and motivations that drive us day in and day out, is incredibly potent and powerful as a way for peeling back some of the layers of confusion and blurriness in our thinking and helping us to align our view with what it is that we're trying to achieve. It's helpful to know ourselves, know these beliefs, and see where they're serving us and where they're not. Thank you so much for your practice, for taking this time, and for pursuing what is meaningful. Join me now in sharing whatever goodness has come from this meditation with all beings, that all beings may find that lasting happiness that they yearn for, that they strive for, and which fundamentally is the nature of their minds. Thank you.